Welcome back to the Mental Fight Podcast. And on this episode, I got a chance to sit down with Professor Tracy Taylor of Taylor Made Jiu-Jitsu. I got a chance to go back to my humble beginnings because that's where it all started. Coach Tracy has been my jiu-jitsu coach from the very beginning, and we got a chance to sit down and talk about just a smidget of some of the concepts and ideas that we talk about on a daily, from wrestling to MMA to jiu-jitsu, just sports in general. Tune into this episode.
Storm's coming.
Storm's coming.
There's a fucking storm coming, Dad!
Storm's coming.
Hey, let me give you guys a little bit of taste of what it was like being at Sunday school as I take you back with Coach Tracy here on this episode, my jiu-jitsu coach and professor from St. Louis. Coach, I'm so happy to have you here and for us to get a chance to chop it up, but not just, we've chopped it up a lot already, but now we get to let other people in on some of the just dope conversations that we have together.
If you think we should.
Yeah, I mean, just a little bit. Give them just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yes. So, I mentioned before, like, one of the things that was always really true to me is, like, always remembering where you come from. And to this day, I just think about all of the trainings that we did in Sunday school and jiu-jitsu and earning my blue belt underneath you, and just the lineage in which where I come from. And you were definitely a part of that. And you've racked up a lot of accolades yourself. Tell the people a little bit about who Tracy Taylor is, because this is the first round. We get to fill you out a little bit.
I've done a little bit in my time. I think first of all, my lineage is Hickson Gracie to Rodrigo Vaghi, and for those who don't know about Rodrigo, he's probably one of the best kept secrets in the Midwest, or really in the world. At a time when a lot of the greats that were underneath Rodrigo or underneath Hickson or in that generation were still competing, he was in the stock market in Brazil instead of competing. So like Saulo, Ribeiro, and those guys, he was teammates with him and part of that generation, and struck fear into people. So when we would roll into tournaments like the old school Arnold's in Columbus, Ohio, it was like having this like your team patch on your back. It was like a biker gang, like having that patch on your back when we'd walk in with Rodrigo, and it's like air went out of the room when people would see him or see us. And it was like, if you ever seen like the movie with Chaz Palminteri, I forget the name of the movie, Bronx Tale, and they'd lock the door on the bikers and they'd say, "Now you can't get out." It was kind of like that when we'd roll in a tournament. The guy commanded that much respect. So getting a black belt under him, means something. So in today's day and age, it seems like everybody's got a black belt. So we don't even ask, you have a black belt. It's more like, who'd you get your belt under? And I can say with confidence, I've got mine from Rodrigo Vaghi, who's one of the premier people under Hickson Gracie. So, having that lineage means something. So I can say I've never been in a match as a black belt and felt like I didn't belong. And I don't know that, it's a scary thing to be in a match as a black belt, especially your first time. And I've gone in with confidence, for sure. I felt like I belong there. And I don't know if you ever truly feel like, you're not. I think everybody's got imposter syndrome to an extent, you know what I mean? But, you just kind of do what you do and just be who you are. That, along with, man, I started wrestling when I was 3 years old. So that never hurt, so, I mean, the hundreds of matches you have a year between folk style, freestyle, and Greco, which is how I get my favorite quote, "Fate loves the fearless," because, I don't believe in nerves, and I always kind of think I'm playing with house money. And if you just go out there and you're fearless and have fun and try to outwork people, I leave the rest up to the fates. And, so I've placed in worlds at, I think, all belt levels. I've beat a lot of who's who at all belt levels, gi and no gi, and fought MMA for a number of years. College athlete, football, Could have ran track in college. Could have wrestled in college. So I've done a little bit of everything. Done a little
Yeah.
bit of everything.
You're just all around, just pure athlete, pure talent, and hard work, obviously, too.
I don't know, master of none, but done them all.
Yes, yes. Going back to like what you said, and that really resonated to me as well. Like the confidence that I felt, like getting my blue belt, of underneath you and at St. Charles MMA, because I know that the things that we had to do to get that blue belt, like I knew that I deserved it, and I knew that I was a blue belt. And like even later when I finally got my purple belt, I was like, man, I've been a blue belt for 4 years. Like I was already like so confident of myself, of my abilities, that because of knowing where I came from, and
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I'm not, and I'll be honest. Like, I'm proud of you. You know what I mean? Like, and I know you'll carry that belt with you with confidence no matter where you go, and that's the idea.
yeah.
So I remember being in high school my senior year, and I took this English class, British literature, right? And it was a I don't even remember. It was a high level English class, and I remember when everybody saw this teacher's name pop up on the schedule, they were like, "Oh my God, you got Mr. Dwyer," and everybody would try to drop out of this dude's class, and it was too late for me to drop out. I was like, "Man, I'm stuck with this guy." And I remember going in this class, and he gave us a speech the first day. He's like, if you're an honor student, which I was not, he's like, you will not get an A in this class. I was like, I'm not going to get one anyway, so don't even worry about it, right? And he's like, you can go home and tell your parents you'll get a C. And everybody was freaking out, except for me. I'm like, it's perfect for what I'm trying to do. So he's like, but that C will stand for confidence in college because you'll know you've earned it and you know you deserve it and you'll be prepared for college. And turns out I ended up getting an A in the class, and I went to college and graduated early with my undergrad, and then got my master's in 3 semesters. So I was prepared. So I've always had the same philosophy for my fighters and for my jiu-jitsu athletes that once you've trained with me, you're going to be prepared. So that's the one thing I've always felt like I knew once you move to Houston or when you're in the cage, because I feel like my level of jiu-jitsu is going to translate into MMA as well. I'm not going to teach. Well, I would tell you if this is sport jiu-jitsu, this is MMA jiu-jitsu, this is street jiu-jitsu. And a lot of times those areas will blend, but I'm going to be very specific with what's what. But I know for sure, like my athletes are going to be successful. And I feel like it always translates. So I knew when you went to Houston and you're trained under Professor Marvin, who's got a lot of accolades himself and a great crew of people, that you were going to do just fine. And I mean, not too long after you left, did you get that purple? And I remember us talking, you're like, they're trying to give me this purple. I'm like, get it, take it. You earn it, you deserve it. And you should use it a little bit more. Don't forget you have it.
Yeah, that's the
You earned
plan. We gonna use it.
but you earned it, you deserve it. But so to give people a little bit of what we're talking about, like we have to do a practical, so not necessarily a written test, but everybody will show me a list like the techniques. And there's probably 30 some odd techniques or somewhere around there.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so. Two
Um,
sheets full of
yeah,
techniques.
yeah. So you'll kind of like I'll call that a technique, and you have to with confidence do the technique for me. And then I can pass you or fail you based on that, but I'll give you a few opportunities to pass that. And then the following day, whether or not you pass or not, you're going to do a few hours of calisthenics. That
Calisthenics.
I don't want to give away all the secrets, but that'd be accurate, correct?
Yeah, calisthenics. Yep.
Yeah, that'd be accurate. And
It
then
created some calluses on my hands and feet. Yeah.
I mean, I did it too, and it was glorious, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
You
It's
know.
how you become a Spartan. And
Yeah.
then after that, you everybody else is allowed to come in and you spar with the entire team for an hour after that, and it's a glorious moment. And you are
You
reborn.
Yeah, I was reborn. Tell me, wasn't there something special about my particular group of, probably broke some records when it comes to the amount of time that, we had our calisthenics? You remember how long that took? How long we were doing that?
I don't remember. I've done so many. How long did it take?
Yo, we were in there like between 3 to 4 hours.
I remember the group. I remember my guy Mark, who started out with me as a white belt, and I gave
Yeah.
his blue belt. Sorry, Mark.
Yeah.
Um,
Love you, Mark.
love you, Mark. Sorry, buddy. Love you.
Got to spend some extra time together. We got we were real
Yeah,
close that time. It was a
yeah,
bond.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's why it took so long. Wow.
Yeah.
I remember now. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But my group, we were the fastest to be done. So,
Mm.
but it was only
Okay.
two of us. So imagine how great that opportunity was. It was only myself and one other person.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've been a part of those where it was only one person. So imagine doing that thing by yourself.
That would be really difficult.
Yeah.
I'm glad that no matter how, no matter like how you look at it, it's the piece of having like some support, through
Oh,
that, and it's
absolutely.
just about making it through. And so I'm happy we all made it through, and we got those blue belts. And like you said, the whole theme of this first round is the fact that you know that you earned it.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
yeah. Did I play Baby Shark?
I don't remember the baby shark. I probably all my brain cells went there at the time. I was like, ooh. There's some beautiful pictures from that day actually. We should probably add that to the cast.
Yeah, we'll add that on.
I
Yeah.
don't know why I thought that it would be cool to like do Sealy plaits in my head that day. I didn't think about that. I did not plan that and think about that.
Did
But
you say
now,
Miss Seeley? You said Miss Seeley.
yes, Miss Sealy. I had
Color
little
purple.
Miss plaits in my head that day.
Knowing that
Anyway,
you're gonna remember that moment forever, and you threw. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, so I usually throw in a little Baby Shark, uh, as if it's, I'm trying to break people,
Mm.
and a little Outcast. So you don't remember either one of those?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even remember music happening. I
Yeah.
don't know.
So the song "Hey Ya," right?
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
do the "All right, all right, all right, all right," and only that part
Oh,
because
okay.
it's on YouTube. So it's on a loop, and it's just that, and I'll play
Yeah.
that part for like half an hour, and Baby Shark, and I'll just repeat the two songs the entire time. I may not
Yeah.
have started that till after you guys. You guys might have had a reprieve that day.
Yeah, I think that might have I
Just me
dodged that
screaming
one.
at you. Yeah,
Yeah. I appreciate it.
it's my
All
wonderful
right.
voice.
Well, shoot, this first round, we talked a lot about, earning it and the things that we've gained so far. Just knowing that the work that you put into it and you exude that confidence with that ability that you get to take with you wherever you go. So this next round, we're going to get into more about like combatives and like what has been in the sport or in the things that you've been involved in, how that has impacted you as a person. All right, so round two, write down. We started the first round talking about, earning that belt and what that feels like and the confidence that you take with you. But we didn't quite talk about maybe something else that's probably very important and meaningful to you that you also took away with earning your black belt. What else was special about earning that black belt for you? What was unique about that, based off where you're from and your and all of that?
uh, so you possibly could be referring to the fact that I'm the first African American black belt in St. Louis, which I
Yeah.
don't even think I realized at the moment. And one of my teammates, Mike Rogers, actually mentioned to me later. Mike was one of Rodrigo's first black belts, and he's the one that pointed it out to me. And after I did a little research, I was like, wow, he's absolutely right. I am. I hadn't even really thought about that. I think I was just probably still floating in the clouds, that I
Yeah.
was that I'd been made, so to speak. Um, only 2% of people that train jujitsu ever get a black belt. So, and people ask, how long does it generally take a normal person to get a black belt? Normal people don't get black belts. So there you go. But only 2% of the practitioners ever get one. And most people fall out of blue belt. So I thought it was quite an honor to be, the first African American person to get one in St. Louis. So
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
to find a way to advertise that more. See if that does something for me.
Yeah. I mean, that's really dope. Like, I feel, as a person of color, we're always thinking about like creating new spaces where
Right.
we're paving the way. And you definitely are that trailblazer in that aspect. And it's very inspiring. And I'm super proud of you. And um, I'm really happy to be able to say that, you're my professor and I learned under you too as well. And it just also motivates and inspires me to be able to like go after things where maybe other people who look like me may not have had, haven't been yet. Even if there are some there. For a long time I was like, I'm the first black woman in the UFC. But then, Angela Hill beat me
They'll
to it. But
jump
it's
in.
all good. It's all good. I'm like, yay, Angela. But hey, we gonna be more faces to have more people to be like, hey, somebody looks like me who's in this space doing great things.
Right. Be part of the Mount Rushmore of that. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like it doesn't even really. It, I'm a pretty simple person, and I know it doesn't really seem like that to most people. But I don't really give myself a whole lot of thought, honestly. And I never really think about it. I just realized the other day that this summer and probably March, I think in March, it's been 20 years for me, jujitsu. I always equate the music, the summertime music when I started to jujitsu to time frames. And then I'm looking at my Sirius radio in my car, and then, a song pops up and it's got the year next to it. And I'm like, wow, it's been 20 years. Um, and then I'm like, wow, I literally feel like I just started. So the fact that I'm the first African American black belt, doesn't resonate when I feel like I literally just started. And how can that song be that old? Because first of all, it's still banging, and I still feel like a kid in the sport because you feel like you're just really starting to learn. So
Yeah,
how could
yeah.
it be me? And honestly too, I don't think I recognize when somebody's trying to connect or pay homage in their own way or pay respect, because I'm just me. You know what I mean? And then you're like, oh, you're okay. Like there's a moment that's okay. Let me slow down and pay attention. And there's a guy that we train with that you know very well, a police officer, and I don't think I recognized at first that he was really attempting to be my friend. And I
Mhm.
joke around about it all the time. Like, he kind of had this attitude, like, you're going to be my friend whether you like it or not. He didn't come out and say that. But I recognized it like later one time. And I was like, man, this guy, whether I liked it or not, is just going to be my friend. And I had to, like, made sure I matched that effort. And I don't always recognize that because, again, I'm just me. And why would, you know what I mean? Like, why would somebody belittle old me?
Yeah.
But you have to respect those moments with people. And I try to, honestly, I try to do that, but I don't always think of myself enough to do that or think enough of myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I connect to that fully. I know you've been in the game for over 20 years, and I'm like, dang, where has time gone? It's been like 8 years almost in the sport for a decade, and then and in those moments, I'm like, I still have so much to learn. I'm still trying to be better at this and better that. I'm still climbing my ladder, and then in those moments where I meet other people where they're like, yo, like you inspired me, or you're commending me or giving me some props for something that I've performed, and I'm like, oh wow, okay, so I am really right there, and people see me in this way, and it is kind of I guess gives a different perspective as to like where I am versus like you said, I'm just me, just doing my
Yeah.
thing, and not really also kind of making the connections how you may be like impacting others as well, or the attraction that you kind of pull to individuals to want to maybe soak up your mind a little bit, or just be near and be in that space. And it's a really great feeling to like make those connections though, for sure.
One of the things that wows me, but I'm also most proud of, is when I connect with people and they talk about both you and Cortavius,
Mhm.
and they're like, "Oh yeah, your fighter Brittany or your fighter Court," and I'm like, oh, you know, they're like, oh yeah, we follow them,
Mhm.
and they follow through me, they follow you all, and I then you're like, they feel like they know you all, and that's the
Mm.
part. Like I'm like, that's pretty cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it might be friends of mine from like high school in Chicago, that and again, I'm in St. Louis now, but it's friends that I maybe haven't really talked to in years, or that are acquaintances or whatever, and they people say, and I hear that kind of stuff all the time, or even a friend of a friend, and they'll inbox me and they'll say something about the two of you all, and then it really makes me smile that you all are getting traction that way, and these people feel like they know you all, or my nieces and nephews,
Mhm.
know you all. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
oh yeah,
yeah.
I follow her, I follow her, I follow him. Like, yeah, she's fine. I'm like, they sometimes they know things before I know things, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, well, I better catch up.
Yeah, yeah. I want to say that's probably one of the like top things on my list of just being in this sport is like all the connections that I've made along the way. I feel like, I've been back home in St. Louis and I've made tons of connections there, but then also being out in California and then just back here in Texas and just um all the connections of people checking in with me when I'm having fights or when things are going on to show that they're still like rooting for me. And it's like, even if we don't talk all the time, is they're following the journey and they're supportive of it. And, um, and I've also had that too, where I've had different people who are like supporting of me, asking like, "Oh man, you posted about my one of my teammates, Ari. She's like, oh, she's amazing." So it's just like that piece of like building connections, not just within us, but then also connecting others to others at the same time. It's like being in the middleman of all of that is really nice too. Um, we can keep sharing all the love and connections too, because I really believe in the connections really helps fuel us, and the support is definitely there and needed without a doubt.
100%. One of the coolest things that happened to me is when I used to have a clothing line, Blunt Force Trauma Fightwear, right?
Mhm.
And I was in randomly in San Francisco, and I saw a guy running through the airport wearing one of my shirts, and then just random place, and I see somebody, and then another night I was at a club downtown St. Louis, and I saw a guy wearing a shirt of mine, and I'm like, this dude could have worn anything to go out tonight, but that's the fits he put on. You know what I mean? Like to go out, and he's gonna try to talk to somebody that night, and that's what he put on to do it. And so one of my friends walked up to him. He's like, "Yo, do you know this guy?" Ask him if he knew who I was. He's like, "Nope, don't recognize him." He's like, "Okay, where'd you get that shirt?" Right? He's like, "Oh, this dude, they sponsored me." And so this guy made up a whole story about how he was sponsored by Blunt Force Trauma, and some of his team is sponsored. And I wasn't sponsoring anybody. The occasional guy in the UFC then that might have been a teammate. Um, and he was gonna like start correcting him. I was like, no man, let that dude tell everybody he's sponsored, because the more people that know, the better. Like tell all the stories in the world, like crazy stuff like that. It was great.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. I know I've definitely picked up a lot of your new gear, tailor made jujitsu and everything, flexing real hard on it and everything. I feel really proud when and I remember those gis too, which reminds me I need to get back to gi class so I can wear it more. I haven't been wearing the gi that often, but it's crispy, man. I can't wait. It's
Oh, yeah,
crispy.
that's a sharp gig. I'm like, oh, that's a sharp gig.
It is a sharp gi. It is a sharp gi. But like just being able to, rep the people that care about and you support, and then like, it just I love that. It just shows that no matter where we are, that it's a way to just show support and have that connection there, and then other people who latch on too. So then we're just growing all together. So
My
it's
first sponsors were Grappler's Quest and Gameness. So I mean, I had the luxury of having some of the best gear when I first started, and I mean, it happened really fast for me, and traveling across the country as well with Grappler's Quest, and from that experience, I got to know everybody that was anybody in the sport. I mean, just anybody, because everybody was on that Grappler's Quest scene, and so I got to see everybody's fresh gear. I got to see the best competitors. I made all these great relationships to see the best jujitsu, and then again have all the gameness gear. So like all that stuff and how to run a company, whether it be gameness or Grappler's Quest, all that stuff really inspired me. to want to do those things. How to be a professor or to make clothing, whether it be geese or the t-shirts and all that stuff. So I've had these amazing influences in my life too, and it's great to even like to go back to Worlds every year and to run into those people. And my mom went with me one year and to introduce her to those people that I've known all these years and all these relationships and people across the country. It's like having a winning lottery ticket, quite honestly. The relationships you make, as you kind of spoke to.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because at the end of the day, like we're gonna have our prime time of competing and doing
Mhm.
all of the physical things. But then I really do feel like the relationships and the people that you meet and the experiences are the things that you get to keep, if you foster them, and that's something that you would have for life.
Absolutely. Your reputation, that's really all you have and how people really feel about you. But and that's another thing. People don't always remember what you do, but they remember how you make them feel. And that's an important thing to me. So I try to make a point to make everybody feel special.
Yeah. Well, let's get exactly into that because the next round is kind of hitting on the feelings. And you mentioned in the first round a little bit about the quote that you shared. So this next round, we're going to get in a little bit more and talk a little bit more about what that means to you. But apparently, maybe also how I interpret it too. So next round, we're going to get into it. All right. So round three is where we show your heart. So before in the first round, you mentioned the quote, "Fate loves the fearless," and you spoke a little bit about it. And when you asked me to kind of interpret what that meant to me, I thought about it and I was like, oh, it just made my brain start going in so many directions because it's like, how shall I interpret this? When one thing that I think about like fate is there's this piece that's already determined and that we're kind of on our way. And for those who embrace leaning into things and go about life without fear and they're willing to, I guess, let life take them sometimes, maybe fate love those people because they're willing to be able to go with it and flow into different spaces and different times and adaptability too. That was kind of some of the thoughts that I had about it, but I know that you kind of had a different interpretation of it. Would you
But I
like?
think but I think you're right. I think it's all those things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you have to be adaptable. I think if you're not, then you go extinct, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
part of being fearless is you have to be adaptable. I remember hearing, watching the DVD Choke with Hicks and Gracie, and he was saying, "I'm afraid of everything," and I was like, "What is this guy talking about? Afraid of everything?" And then I realized, like, yeah, I mean, it's okay to have fear. I think we all have fear, and it's pushing past that fear. You know, like I tell my boys, like it's okay to have your feelings hurt, and it's okay to cry. It doesn't mean you're not a man. It's not okay. It's okay to worry, but it's not okay to not have action. Or you can't just freeze and not do anything. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
the absence of that though. Like you have to move forward. Or me in class. Like how does a shark stay alive? It moves forward, right?
Mm-hmm.
All those things. Like you have to constantly be moving. You have to challenge yourself. You have to challenge the universe. And that's why I believe in fate loves the fearless and playing with the house money. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's just it's my turn. Like every Deion Sanders said, somebody's going to be great tonight. Why not me? And I fully believe in that. At the end of the day, everybody's going to go home talking about somebody.
Yeah.
Why not me?
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff excites me. And I don't know
Yeah.
what the difference is between this person and me when it can absolutely be me because I'll work just as hard as anybody else and I'll train just as hard and I can be just as technical as anybody. And unfortunately for everybody else, my mother told me I could be anything in the world and I listened to her. So,
Yeah.
what?
I mean, it's the power of believing it, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I try to bestow that on my students and on my own kids and, just anybody around me. I want them to feel the power of that. And it doesn't mean I'm special. I want them to know how special they are. Like, and when you have people that believe in you and you believe in yourself, that's a powerful thing. So yeah, fate loves the fearless, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And you taking the place of being coach, being professor, like you hold such a influential space for athletes. And I know for myself as well, you know, I'm definitely a thinker and I appreciate the your teaching style in the sense of allowing me to like have this space to think and like make logic and make sense, because for me, like it has to make sense in my mind. And when it comes to believing in myself and these abilities, like the more that I know and I understand, the stronger my belief is. And having someone sometimes to mirror that or to remind me of that is definitely empowering. So it's like, because there's so many if then situations that can
If this
occur
and do
in
that,
jujitsu. Yeah, the whole little like
the
if
algorithm,
this, then that, the algorithm, right? The algorithm, you know,
algorithm.
but I literally found myself literally. I kid you not. I had this conversation with my teammates. We were talking about jujitsu, and I was like, my coach from back home was telling me that it's the power of suggestion. I'm going to suggest this for
It's
this
just
person.
listen.
Yes, yes. So I like your words stick with me, and it gives me a different frame of reference to think of, and like it has allowed me to be able to view jujitsu and view what I'm doing in a different way, right? That works for me. And I think we've talked about this too, just like here are some rules, these like basic rules of the sport of jujitsu, and understanding like if I do this, here are the possible solutions, and like kind of eliminating that piece of like right and wrong, but more so like if then, and just all of these different teachings and different ways of just kind of thinking about different concepts and things, and has really poured into just like, okay, I understand. And also having people who like remind me of myself has really like strengthened that belief. And if if not, if like you said, how come this can't be me? How come I can't, how
And,
come I
and
can't be.
honestly, that's all you were ever missing. And let me
Yeah.
say this first: you have to have a very strong coach, professor. Like you are not for the weak at heart because
Hmm.
you do a lot of like introspective type, a lot of thinking and a lot of questioning. So somebody better have their stuff together if they're gonna coach you. Because you'll be like, nah, I don't think that, which is great because you're an educated person. So as you should, but that's why Sunday school worked for a lot of people and other people it just didn't work for. Like
Yeah.
like if you're a barbarian, it may not work for you. But if you
Yeah.
stuck with it and you're a barbarian, it was going to teach you how to be more of a barbarian if you just trusted the process, right? Because you just
Mm.
use less energy and be a barbarian, right?
Yeah.
Right, truly, right?
Yeah.
Um, but you just had to like just be patient and bear with it, and then you were going to be there. But back to you, like you can't be weak minded and coach you because I would sit there and look at you and giggle because you'd be like, okay,
The math ain't math there, bro. The math ain't math,
that
as
ain't
they
nothing. And then
say.
all of a sudden it'd start clicking. You'd be like, oh, I'm there, right?
I'm like,
You'd be
yeah,
like, is this gonna work? Is this gonna? I don't know if it's sticking with me. I'm kind of in doubt. But really, it wasn't. I understood. It wasn't always you doubting me. It was you doubting you and how you could apply it. And I
yeah,
and I knew once I could make you a believer, you would flourish. But it was always more of a self doubt in you, and all you ever needed to be was a believer in you. And I still
yeah.
believe that. You know.
Yeah. Because
And
sometimes I'm like, well, that might work for you and your body type, but for how my legs is set up or how this is like, I'm always thinking from my frame of reference, and that's right. And I think it really started to click when I'm like, okay, if I, because that's a part of my mind is that I get real rigid and like following the rules. And sometimes there's going to be these differences, but when it came down to like, okay, here's the things that you have to apply, and then there's also this other flex room around that for what we're talking about, that how it can still apply to you, that really helped open up like that space of grace, you know but
that's
nevertheless.
that's our uh, learn it as a professional so you can recreate it like an artist.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yes, yes. And that was a part of the conversation that I was having with my teammate. I was explaining like I've been learning all these different pieces, these different techniques, this all of this stuff. And I'm figuring out how to take all of these things and make art out of it in my way. And it's honestly something that I truly have to figure out, because like how I choose to use my tools. And then also still, abide by, certain kind of rules in those if then situations. But the belief behind all of that, believing that I can and that I will, and being intentional and committing. Because I remember for a whole part of time we were working on me just like going after it and not being so passive.
Right.
Like
Being intentional. Yeah.
yeah, the part of that passiveness was like a little lacking of the belief there. But when I like believed in what I wanted to do and I was going to do it, or that I'm able to adapt and flow with the next thing because I knew what to do, then it didn't matter at that point because I knew that I was going to be able to adjust, you know. So that
Faith loves the
piece of
fearless.
fearlessness, yeah.
Faith loves the
So
fearless.
yeah, and there goes the feelings of like, you know what? It don't matter. I have a plan, but at the same time, no matter what happens, that I believe in the fact that I have adaptability and that I have the skills that I have, and we're gonna make art regardless. You know.
Yeah, and that's all part of the. We learn how to paint by numbers in the beginning, right? And then after
Mm,
that, you learn to create your own masterpiece, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely, definitely.
absolutely.
The beauty of it all.
Right.
And so, man, I feel like there's so much that like so many other pieces of territory that we can touch on in conversation because um, you have so much knowledge in just so many areas. You've been in the sport for so many years, and you've been on both sides of it, not just in the jujitsu world, but also in the fighting world, and then also just as a coach. And there's just been so much wisdom that you have, and I'm super appreciative that I've gotten to soak up a little bit of that. And that boy Hickson, because you didn't spray, gave that boy them seeds of genetics, and I hope he's gonna do well too in his endeavors.
Please. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Wrestling in college. Your boy's gonna be all right.
yeah, yeah. And that's what it's all about. I really do feel like is we have our time where we're competing, and then it's about like how do we share this and make those connections and pass down that knowledge too as well. So for our listeners who've been following along, I hope that they got some more nuggets. Maybe they can gain some more nuggets for you by following your journey as well. Where can they find you?
So
On
I believe you had it listed beneath me, beneath my little gruff face there.
Mhm.
Tailor Made BJJ, Facebook and Instagram. That's the simple way to find me. And my personal Instagram, you can find me through the Tailor Made if you want to, and I'll decide whether or not I'll let you in. But go through the Tailor Made BJJ.
Keep our circle small.
Right, right. We'll start there, and that all things through there. And do me a favor and please follow and keep following Brittany's career because she's amazing, an amazing person, amazing mind, an amazing athlete, amazing woman. So this trajectory is through the roof. So
Yeah,
do me that
yeah.
and bless me with that, please, everybody.
I appreciate that. Man, if you enjoyed this podcast and enjoy listening, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe too. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. It's been a great one.